Good morning. Welcome to another episode of the Electric Bison. This morning I'd like to talk to my fellow veterans, especially from the Vietnam War era, and also to my fellow Catholics. I did not go to Vietnam. I was assigned to the 18th Airborne Corps, and I was put into an MI battalion, military intelligence battalion, after infantry school and combat intelligence school, and I didn't do either of those. I worked on strategic intelligence, and I think we were in support of the 82nd Airborne Division and the 3rd Special Forces. I debrief some of those folks when they come back from different parts of the world. I'm sure some of you can remember that phrase, that saying, kill them all and let God sort them out. Some of the people who would say that were certainly kidding, but others had some hard experiences. And then among those who came back from Vietnam to my unit, where we were keeping track of Africa, all the countries, all those little countries in Africa and in the West Indies, trying to give our forces a heads up should they have to go there. We had to keep track of just all kinds of things. And all the insurgencies in those days, that's what they were called, insurgencies. And everything we did was connected to what was called bombing encyclopedia numbers and target data categories. And on the other side of the wall, we were in a big building that was surrounded by triple concertina wire with armed guards. And we had quite a large number of photograph interpretation vans pulled up against the back of our building. And the people on the other side of the divider from me, they were working hard trying to identify whether a physical location on the planet's surface was an orphanage or a church or a school. They were called the lines of communications people. A lot of warrant officers really grew to respect the Warrant Officers Protective Association. Yeah, they were really good. But there's only so many of them. And it's hard work, looking at all that information and then getting it right. Plus, you can only do it on a periodic basis. You can't go through and do Somalia or Nigeria or the Congo, Rhodesia. You can't do those all the time. You can only do them on some kind of a schedule, and it's pretty infrequent. So the information associated with those numbers, those targeting numbers that I'm sure are what the Tomahawk cruise missiles used to go to the girls' school in Iran and other places, were probably dated. I could see right away that's what had happened. Won't take any big investigation by Secretary of Defense Hegseth, who's going to try to figure out what happened. All you got to do is look at your artificial intelligence, put in bombing encyclopedia, ask it what's happened to the bombing encyclopedia, how's it been updated since it stopped being in books in 1973. Really thick books for even Nigeria with all kinds of numbers. But anyhow, the one other point on this is I had guys come back working for me that had been in Vietnam that were just totally burned out. They just wanted to go home. And I'd been asked several times what the target data category number or the bombing encyclopedia number was for President Nixon's White House. They hated him. They just hated the man. And for Mayor Rizzo in Philadelphia, they hated him. And they really didn't like the recruiter that told them they'd have a briefcase handcuffed to their wrists and they'd go around the world on airplanes talking to stewardesses as couriers. That's real life. So they had to be supervised. And I'm just going to tell you that Hegseth is in that category. He's messed up. He needs serious supervision. And of course, he's not getting it from President Trump. So artificial intelligence is kind of interesting, what we have, even the free version. We used to keep all of our information on classified internet. And then well, not during that period, but later on when I was at the Pentagon, on classified internet called SIPRNet. And then the unclassified was on NIPRNet. Well, the AI doesn't seem to know the difference. That's amazing to me. So anyhow, ask your AI what the Bombing Encyclopedia was and what it's become and how it's tied into Palantir and Anthropic systems of artificial intelligence that are being used now to move really fast. And you'll get a sense of what kind of trouble we're in. And then, since we have to prioritize what we're dealing with, move over to how targeting is being done for our nuclear weapons and ask the AI, how do we pick our targets? How is the Bombing Encyclopedia, or whatever it's called now, I can't remember what it's called now, some fancy name, but it's the same thing. How it's being used to pick targets, how they clean those up and present them to the National Command Authority. And you'll see that it's not just when was the last supervised intelligence analyst able to look at the target, ask that, but also when was the last time a Judge Advocate General officer in the Navy, Army, Air Force was able to advise based on the rules of the law of armed conflict, which includes St. Augustine's theory of just war. It's pretty sobering. And what's happened is Mr. Hegseth in his barroom buffoonery, really. I mean, you've all seen it. He's taken the JAGs out of the circle. And so now it's left with the senior commanders, if there's any time. The system is just not able to put in what the law of armed conflict would say about the target. So we're in real trouble. I mean, we're in real trouble. And I think as a result of where we're at, we need to support our members of Congress that have been trying to insert Congress into the decision cycle so that there's no attack made with nuclear weapons without Congress being involved and given a positive order. And there's not a lot of time for that. So we're moved to a new area. That girls' school attack, that has huge consequences. And there'll be more about that to talk about. But if you don't feel bad, there's something wrong. Thanks.